Good evening. Welcome to the Kingdom Cultural Center. How you brothers doing out there? Trust you doing all right. Was your day tiresome like mine? Somewhat. I've been kind of in a in a really recuperating mode. But I'm glad to see you brothers out there today, and I want you to know that to be strong in everything you do. It's imperative that you do. In the age in which we live now, the world system, you have to be strong. Look, I want to talk to you about today about the birth of a king, being that it's the season, and this thing about Christmas and Xmas and a lot of the celebration and the gifts giving. And I want to give you just a synopsis of how you perceive it and how it is and how the world system presents it. I want you to know that when the king was born, he was only seen at his infancy on this planet we call Earth by Mary, his mother, and Joseph. We're talking about King Jesus. And the shepherds that were there. As you know, he was born in a manger. Now, the nativity scene is totally off the chart. Totally wrong. I'm here to present you truth, how it was, and not a religious or a tradition. When Jesus was born king because he was king. He is king. And in order for you to be a king, royalty, you have to be born that. Now, let us take a look at what transpired in that time. I want you to pick up your Constitution and go to Matthew, the 2nd chapter. And I want to highlight some things. Now look, men, I stress men. If there's some sisters out there watching, great, fine. But I focus on the men because the men are the cultivators. God called you. Before Eve was ever conceived, Adam was in the garden. He took care of all that. He named everything in there. And later on, the father thought that it's not good for men to be alone. So I said that to let you know that you men are responsible for your marriage, responsible for your family, and you're to cultivate them. And if you're anything eternal, you bring out the best in your wife, in your marriage, in your children, and you stay up on that because they depend on you. Now, when Jesus was born, royalty, let us take some things here and look to help you out. When the wise men first saw him, he was a young child. He wasn't an infant. And Herod, you can read it in the 2nd chapter. And Herod, he was concerned. He wasn't concerned about a religion. He wasn't concerned about priests or a religion with another name or religious group. Herod was concerned about because there was a king born. A king. And a king means royalty. Now, there was only one king. And Herod was concerned about that because back in those times, kingdoms were very popular. Very popular. And in order for there to be a king, there have to be domain, land. In other words, Herod was threatened, not by religion. He was threatened by a kingdom. And so out of his desperation, what he did was he had all children from male children from 2 years down exterminated. Now all of this is in prophecy. If you check out and you go to Numbers, you'll see a number of things where out of Egypt, God said once you came in, this was prophecy. Let me give you some an example. In second chapter of Matthew, I want you to follow me. And there were until the death of Herod, they were in Egypt. Joseph and Mary fled to Egypt because Herod was killing all babies, male children from 2 years down. And they fled. They took off and hid in Egypt until Herod died. We're talking about a king. He was afraid of Jesus, the king, because he claimed it was all prophesied. So what he did was, he wasn't afraid of religion. I want to emphasize that. Not one called Christianity, but he was afraid of a kingdom. And that's why he wanted that done. He was afraid. He was insecure of his position. Now, all through that chapter, you'll find where he says young child. So when you see the nativity scene throughout this country with the wise men and the shepherd, that's the wrong thing. Remember, I always say study to show that. So the word of God says study. The Constitution says study to show yourself worthy with the knowledge. Know what you're reading. Know what you're seeing. Not out of tradition, not out of religion. This is very serious for us because we have fallen in so many traditions and customs that we have made the word of God of none effect. And we haven't become examples, we become religious symbols. We wear it around our necks, maybe have a cross around your neck. Let me tell you something. If Jesus is a king, then why do you wear a cross around your neck? And I know what many of you are going to say, due to the fact that when he was buried, he was hung on the cross, he died on the cross. Sure, but did you know a cross, to be hung on a cross, was really a curse? It was a curse to be hung on the cross. So why do we do it? If we say Jesus is King of Kings, and the word says King of Kings and Lord of Lords, then why do we have a cross as a symbol? You got to think about this. I want you to think. Take time to think. When you do something, take a moment to wonder, why is it done? So we're here in this season, and many of us, the world system have drastically want us to worship what they have. But you have to, when you know your purpose, here's where all this comes into play. When you know your purpose and who you are, you get up in the morning, you're not ashamed, and you speak his word, you live it, you walk it, you talk it. And once you know the truth, Jesus made it very plain. Once you know the truth shall make you free. So remember, however the season come around, if you're going to celebrate, not Christmas, but celebrate the King, King Jesus. Can't put it no plainer than that. So remember, keep in mind, when you see the nativity scene, it only was Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, and the shepherds. There was no wise men. The wise men came about 2 years later because it took them that journey. And I just want to say this to help you out a little bit and to keep it real. Real on the kingdom level. When you give a gift, don't expect anything in return, a gift in return. When those wise men came and gave Mary and Joseph the gifts for Jesus. The silver, the gold, the myrrh, the incense. They didn't look for a handout or what you're going to give me. They gave it because of royalty. He's the king. And whenever you come into a presence of the king, you bring something. So right now, until the next session, we'll move on. We'll discuss a little more details about other little things so you will have a focus on them. You have a nice evening. Talk to you later.